In March 2011, an Assembler Games user named ProtonX revealed to the world Sonic Extreme, an unreleased Sonic the Hedgehog spin-off. This highly rare prototype, which was salvaged from a development kit for the original Xbox, raised many questions, a good number of which were answered by those who continued to research it in the years that followed. Andrew Bowman, a seasoned video game preservationist, rediscovered it after it had fallen off the map for around 5 years. He was able to successfully track down the only build of it known to exist and dig into its contents to unearth more details. According to Andrew, the prototype was made by a little-known company called Vision Scape Interactive from San Diego, California. Over 13 years since the project's inception, I reached out to former members of Visionscape to get their side of the story behind this mysterious lost game. Visionscape's road to creating Sonic Extreme can be traced back to around 2002. They had just completed development on Seablade, a flight combat shooter game for the Xbox. It had originally been intended to be part of a collaboration with Microsoft to promote the 2001 Steven Spielberg film AI Artificial Intelligence. The agreement ultimately fell apart, and Visionscape was forced to hastily retrofit the title into an original IP, stripping out all references to the movie just months before release. This turn of events limited its success. For Visionscape though, this was only one of a few ventures they had in the works. They had also secured the video game rights to Tech Deck, a series of finger skateboarding toys that gained popularity in the late 1990s. The outcome of this deal was a line of products known as digital playsets. These were packages sold at toy stores around the world, each containing 2 Tech Deck character figurines and a CD-ROM with a video game on it. Known as Bare Knuckle Grind, the skateboarding game was developed by Visionscape Interactive and utilized an innovative business model. Each of the different Tech Deck character figure packs came with their own version of the game that contained new playable characters and a different town to explore. The more players collected of the toy line, the larger their interconnected virtual world or digital playset would become. The model in many ways foreshadowed the arrival of Toys to Life games like Disney Infinity and LEGO Dimensions. Launching in 2003, the product soon became a success. Ahead of its launch, however, Visionscape was already acting on plans to expand Bare Knuckle Grind's reach with ports to consoles. They also intended to reuse the framework they had built for it in other skateboarding-themed games. The first of these was based around the Nickelodeon TV show Rocket Power, a cartoon series about a group of friends who partake in various extreme sports. Publisher THQ acquired the license around the time of its first airing in 1999 and had set about producing video game tie-ins with it. The next one they had planned was called Rocket Power Zero Gravity Zone. It was set to be developed by Visionscape for Xbox, PS2 and Gamecube, while Ultron, a separate company, handled a Game Boy Advance version. Visionscape's console game used a lot of the tech they had built for Bare Knuckle Grind and the same engine, a version of renderware. It was being made with the Xbox as the lead platform, given the fact that they already had experience with the hardware from working with Microsoft on Seablade. Renderware would have enabled them to port Rocket Power Zero Gravity Zone to other platforms with relative ease as development went on. Unfortunately for them, however, the project never made it that far. Right before the game was set to enter alpha testing, THQ, who had been funding it, abruptly applied the brakes in around late February 2003. For years, its cancellation would remain shrouded in mystery. I contacted Matt McDonald, one of Visionscape's co-founders, to understand more about what happened and its connection to Sonic Extreme. According to Matt, THQ faced mounting financial issues at the time. Within the space of a week, 13 separate projects were cancelled in an effort to decrease spending, including Visionscape's Rocket Power title. Ultron's Game Boy Advance version, on the other hand, had a much smaller budget and was thus allowed to continue. It released in August 2003 without its home console counterparts. With their Rocket Power game dead, a lot of Visionscape's employees were left without an active project. Their president, Matt McDonald, was forced to improvise. A number of Visionscape's members had a background in animation. Matt had himself worked on the animated TV show But Ugly Martians, for instance. The studio therefore not only made its own games, it was producing CGI animation for games made by other companies. They had been hired to do 3D animated cutscenes for Sega's next Sonic the Hedgehog title, Sonic Heroes. Making use of this new industry contact, Matt decided in May 2003 that his team would put together a pitch for a new Sonic game for Xbox, PS2 and Gamecube. The idea was to take the technology and experience they developed during Rocket Power and Bare Knuckle Grind and apply it to this new project. It was planned to be a game where the player competed against various Sonic characters in a number of differently themed worlds on hoverboards. Using the same engine and many of the same assets from Bare Knuckle Grind, a playable prototype was assembled for this theoretical theoretical new game. Recycling pre-existing tools like this allowed them to create the demo very quickly. Matt estimates that it took them no more than a week to make. Not only was the development process efficient, if the pitch was successful, it would carry the advantage of giving Sega a head start on the following Sonic game, since Sonic Team itself wouldn't be done with Heroes until later into the year. Thanks to their collaboration with Sega on the cinematics for Sonic Heroes, it meant that they also had some access to their internal library of game assets, like character models for both Sonic and Shadow, as well as art from previous games. These would become implemented into their hoverboarding prototype. Its menus were comprised of promotional art from the Sonic Adventure games, and the character models became their two playable characters, Shadow and Sonic. The player could navigate them through a skate park level stylized after Green Hill Zone from the original Sonic the Hedgehog with its iconic checkered soil. The stage is full of various slopes to ride up and rails to grind on. Doing so will allow you to pull off a number of tricks like stalls, flips, and spins. Executing a trick successfully will give you points that are tallied up into a total shown on the top left of the HUD. According to Andrew Borman, the prototype's owner, there are a few different modes that are accessible within it. The first of these is a single player mission mode where the player explores the Green Hill style environment with the ultimate goal of collecting an emerald. They must first locate and collect a key, which then allows them to unlock a portal. Travelling through it will take them to a final area wherein they can pick up the floating emerald, at which point the demo ends. The other two main modes have a two-player local multiplayer option enabled via split screen. Alternatively, they can be played against a computer-controlled opponent. One of them is dubbed Combat and has the two hedgehogs duking it out by picking up weapons and firing them at each other. There are several different types of weapons to grab, including rockets and grenades. They can also perform a spin attack to smash crates, revealing more of the level. The other game type is a simple race mode where the two characters compete against each other in a race to the finish. There are Sonic-style boost pads on the ground, enabling you to pick up more speed. In addition, there is a very basic grey-coloured area built by the developers for test purposes that's hidden in the game's files. Various audio files sourced from Sonic Adventure 2 are used throughout the demo, including voice clips for Sonic and music lifted from its soundtrack. Playing as Sonic will trigger Escape from the City, the theme from Sonic Adventure 2's City Escape level to play. Shadow's music, on the other hand, is the song from the Knuckles Pumpkin Hill stage, A Ghost Pumpkin Soup. Lastly, the menu music is the Chow Garden's Chow Machine track. Sonic Extreme's prototype was paid for by Visionscape itself, initially existing without Sega's knowledge. It wasn't until Visionscape called a meeting with Sega that their project would become formally introduced to them. Matt McDonald sat down with the head of Sonic Team at the time, Yuji Naka, to show him their work. According to Matt, Naka was hugely impressed with the demo. He apparently made it clear that while Sega had no such game like this being planned, he was enthusiastic about the concept. At the end of their meeting, he allegedly stated in no uncertain terms that the two companies would move forward with the project. He requested that Visionscape assemble a design document planning out a full game and a preliminary budget calculating how much it would cost Sega to develop. For the brief period that would follow, it seemed to Visionscape's management that they had secured the company's immediate future with this new deal on the horizon, although this sense of security was short-lived. Visionscape did draft up and submit the plans requested by Yuji Naka, but it was at this juncture that Sega went silent on the matter. McDonald and his team waited for weeks expecting a response. There wasn't one. Repeated attempts to contact Sega were made by Visionscape's agent in the following months to no avail. Without any explanation provided, the publisher ended its correspondence with them on a permanent basis after they submitted the cutscenes for Sonic Heroes. Speaking to me in 2017, Matt McDonald says that he never took their quiet rejection of Visionscape personally. He assumed that they simply had other plans and chose against moving forward with Sonic Extreme. It was another 2 years before Matt and his team would receive an update on the Sonic Extreme front. In this time, Sega had released Sonic Heroes and was nearing completion on its spin-off, Shadow the Hedgehog. In September 2005, the heads of Visionscape were surprised to learn about the next Sonic game in development, Sonic Riders. The title was set to feature Sonic and his friends racing on hoverboards and performing tricks across various worlds, a premise that they believed was strikingly similar to the one Visionscape had pitched around 2 years earlier. In our correspondence, Matt told me that he is certain that Sega essentially took the rough concept that they presented in Sonic Extreme and made it themselves, excluding Visionscape from the process altogether. This, he believes, accounts for their total silence after their full proposal was submitted. Comparing Sonic Riders and the Extreme prototype, there are some vague similarities outside of the core hoverboarding concept. It could be argued that the modes in Visionscape's pitch are in some form precedent riders. There is a battle mode in which players hover around a small arena and fight each each other. They can even collect items that float next to them. They both of course have race options, and there is a game type in Riders where you collect an emerald, although it's very different from the one seen in Extreme and has more of a competitive slant to it. Despite these small observations, there's ultimately little value in comparing a rough prototype made in about a week from pre-existing assets to a fully funded finished game. There's no way of knowing how a fully developed Sonic Extreme would compare to Riders. What McDonald alleges is that Yuji Naka and his team took Visionscape's early concept of a Sonic hoverboarding game and went in their own direction from there. When Matt first learned about Sonic Riders, he did contact his agent to inquire about the legal situation around its alleged connection to Sonic Extreme. He was apparently told that the non-disclosure agreement Visionscape had signed during Sonic Heroes included a caveat that if any pitch submitted to Sega used their intellectual property, in this case Sonic, Visionscape would automatically surrender ownership of it. In other words, Sega is the legal owner of Sonic Extreme, and if Sonic Team did copy its ideas for Sonic Riders, it would have been completely legal. Matt's allegations are supported by other former members of Visionscape that I spoke to independently of him who are no longer under his employment. Furthermore, the file date from the prototype proved definitively that it was made before Sonic Riders, as he claims. In the interests of balance, I did contact both Yuji Naka and Sega multiple times to hear their side of the story, but both declined to comment. Sonic Extreme marks one of the many games lost in the Blue Hedgehog's long history. It's also one that we might never have discovered were it not for the actions of a few rogue ex-employees from Visionscape. The company had announced it was shutting down in 2006, at which point Matt instructed a few of his remaining staff to dispose of their old development hardware. He had arranged for them to deliver a series of dev kits to an electronic recycling plant. Evidently, at least some of this technology never made it there. Instead, it appears to have been sold about, being traded between private collectors before eventually being recovered and preserved by Andrew Bowman. Officially, nothing ever came of Visionscape's Sonic hoverboarding project, but depending on who you believe, it could be possible that there is a causal link between the existence of it and an entire series of Sonic spin-off games. If you've enjoyed this video, please don't forget to subscribe and check out my other videos for more exclusive looks at lost video games. I've been Liam, I hope you found this to be of interest, and have fun.